Welcome to the 4th Annual Substance Use Addiction Summit at the Champlain Valley Expo. We are so blessed to have over 100 booth organizers that have set up their booths to share about the services that they provide to people in recovery and their families. We also want to highlight, as we do in previous years, our memorial wall, where those that we've lost to addiction can be honored and remembered, and that we can continue to celebrate recovery at this event and show people that you can recover. There is hope. I can't, but we can. This event is geared towards sharing light. Darkness is the absence of light, and so long as one of us who is shining a light is present, there won't be darkness in the room. There won't be darkness in the world. So we invite people to celebrate recovery, to know that you can recover, and to know that it's just one person who can change one life that can impact to life after life, family after family. So we thank you to everybody who has participated, our sponsors, our booth holders, our speakers, for sharing your experience and strength and hope at the 4th Annual Substance Use Addiction Summit. Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for being here. My name is Brad Ferlin. I am the co-chair of the Substance Use Addiction Summit. This is our 4th year. We had an amazing turnout at the summit. We have over 100 booths of participants in all forms of recovery. At the summit today, we had the most amazing messages from speakers who were talking about the connection between the judicial, the health department, corrections system, and the prosecutors and the healthcare world, so that we're really dealing with people on the street, meeting them where they're at, and finding solutions for them. And it was just a tremendous occasion. The Substance Use Addiction Summit brings together all the providers that are all across Vermont, the recovery centers, and it just was very rewarding. And I will say, always, there is always hope. You're not alone. Reach out to somebody and start your journey of recovery. It can happen. It does. I'm a living example of it.
Welcome once again to the 4th Annual Coming Together Substance Use Addiction Summit. This is an amazing day. We can make more noise than that. Come on, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Let's wake up Essex Junction. I know you can do it. Thanks to all of our sponsors here today. We'll get a chance to mention them in just a moment. Over 100 organizations here today, as you've seen, many of you with all the booths outside. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a new number this year. We've got the breakout rooms again, so an opportunity to meet these people, to discuss, and to network, and I hope that all of you will do that. This event would not happen without the sponsors, of course, but without the very hard work of the two co-producers and co-chairs, which I'm going to introduce right now. First off, it's Brad Ferlin, my good friend. He's the owner of Ferlin Marketing, providing consulting and guidance on business and political challenges in Vermont. He was also my executive producer and co-director on our video series, Travels with Charlie. Always got to get a plug in there, you know me, right? He also directed and produced several videos on addiction and recovery. Brad is the Monday host of Vermont Viewpoint on WDEV Radio in Waterbury. Hope that you tune into that. He is covering a multitude of topics and interesting guests there. He's also a writer, and he writes about his journey and recovery. And he's a farmer, a sheep farmer, and occasionally he likes to hike up Mount Elmore, only on a full moon, and he does it all year long. Yeah, so we're going to meet him in just a moment, an amazing guy. And Melinda White, who, again, amazing the amount of work that goes into putting an event like this together, and she's just on top of it. I mean, the emails that we constantly get and keeping on top of it and making sure that everything is updated right up into the last minute. She's a woman in long-term recovery. She hosts and produces Recovery Rockstar. And she is a rock star. A TV show aired through Northwest Access TV. She is a Turning Point recovery coach, supervisor in the emergency department, and Vermont Blueprint Mat lead. She also serves on the board of directors for Vermont Alliance for Recovery Residences and the St. Albans Police Advisory Board as vice chair. Her passion for helping the community's most vulnerable people is what keeps her committed to volunteer and service work, as well as strengthening her personal recovery. Won't you please make a lot of noise for the co-producers of this show, Brad Ferlin and Melinda White.
Wow. I am so grateful to be here with Melinda and all of you, and all of you who save lives every day. You're an amazing group of people, and all of this, you're the boots on the ground and make such a difference. You understand the real world challenges and do so with compassion and dedication and love, and it makes a big difference. We have a lot of thank yous. I want to thank Charlie, who I've been working with for many years. And thank you to Tracy Thomason and Savita Health, who is our platinum sponsor. And really, we couldn't do everything that we're doing without Savita. We will mention a lot more of the other sponsors. And if you look around the summit, you'll see all the sponsor names who have been part of this. The Champlain Valley Expo helps us a lot. This is a venue that can bring the public and parking and all of that stuff. So we're grateful to them, and WCAX has been a partner with us to promote, and we're grateful to that, and all the other media in Vermont who very heartfully help us along. And I also want to thank Melinda. She is just rock star, superstar, and her connections to all of the communities across Vermont are just beyond remarkable. So thank you. We have a lot of navigators and volunteers very quickly. Pam McKenzie, Meredith Martin, Chelsea Ferlin, sounds familiar, Larry Connolly, Jesse Manning, Mallory Trombley, Christina Rodriguez, Jessica Fike, Kristen Trombley, Piper Rodriguez, Emily Fike, Zach Fike, George Rodriguez, and Jody White all helped out, and others. If I missed you, I'm sorry. The breakout room today, Dr. White, George Rodriguez, Tracy Hawk, Jackie Kelly, and Sharon Lipschutz. Tracy Hawk has been with us every year and has been a presenter, a lot of things with corrections. The memorial wall over here is important to us. If you have a loved one who you've lost, signing there memorializes them, but also lets people know that we're here for a reason. We're trying to save lives. And I'm here today as a person in recovery. And in recovery, we sometimes briefly qualify, and I'm going to do that, I hope, briefly. In my life, my father's suicide when I was 8 years old became a part of my journey that really resulted in heavy drinking and alcohol dependency. It was my way of self-medicating. I didn't have the tools to cope with the loss, and alcohol became my way to bury that feeling of loss. About 23 years ago, in a drunken stupor, I called a detox in Burlington and asked if they could get me in, and that was on a Tuesday. We talked about some agreement about coming on Friday, and I drank the next 3 days as heavily as I could. I checked into the facility with about a 3.3 blood alcohol content, and they asked me to lay down on a cot, and I laid down on a cot for about 20 minutes, and then I decided that I didn't really like the accommodations, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to stay there. And I went up to the director and said, I'm going to head out, and he said, no, we have an agreement. And I said, well, I'll take my chances, and I went out the front door, and two of Burlington's police officers met me, and they handcuffed me, and they put me in a cruiser, and they brought me over to the correctional center for worse accommodations in my mind than I had just left, but that was it. And there was no, and the correction facility is fine, it was me. It had nothing to do with that. It was a long night, and the next morning, nobody really wanted to take Bradley back, so I went back to Act 1 for about 5 or 6 nights. And during that period, on like the second night, we went to a recovery meeting in Burlington. It was in October, and we were walking like little penguins along the street in a row, and all of a sudden, all these bicycles start riding by us. Everybody was naked on them. It was a Burlington thing on a full moon, and I didn't know if I was hallucinating or if it was real. But I did the 5 or 6 nights there, another recovery meeting. I then went to an outpatient for 4 months, and then I relapsed for 9 months and hit a bottom that was, for me, significant. With really the back pocket tool for me was suicide. And I was so lucky that something happened to get me to a recovery place, get some help, and fortunately that was 21 plus years ago, and I get to be here today. So my recovery was my journey, but there are thousands of stories like mine, unique to each person, and there are so many pathways to recovery, and that's why this summit is so significant, because we have this plethora of opportunity for people to find something that they need that can help them on their new journey with hope in recovery. Posted on the walls, you'll see through the halls and stuff, are our summit goals. And I can say with great joy that we're seeing traction and movement on what we have deeply hoped for over the past years. And today you're going to be hearing from various speakers who are helping all of that big picture stuff. Monica Hutt with the Governor's Office, Chief Prevention Officer, Lauren Resu with Department of Health, Secretary Jenny Samuelson with Health, Vermont Department of Public Safety, Commissioner Jen Morrison, Department of Corrections Commissioner Nicholas Demmel, and Scott Akes with Vermont Courts. We've really wanted to make sure that there's communication between all of these entities to make sure that one hand knows what the other hand's doing and get as many people rooted the right way. And that means hopefully getting treatment and help, but if they're not getting treatment and help, corrections can meet them where they're at, kind of thing. Kind of like me getting thrown into the cruiser. Additionally, you'll hear today from Don Tatro, Lila Bennett, Kevin Hamill, and Sharon Lipschitz, who also are talking about one of our goals, housing and bed and a place to go. You get that moment of clarity and suddenly there's a place for you. Because it doesn't always happen very long that you go, I want to get sober, but maybe I don't, kind of thing. So we are incredibly grateful to everybody here to be part of this. You matter, you matter, you matter. It's one of my favorite things to say. A big thank you to all of you. We are not alone. Together we can. So thanks so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Melinda White, person in long-term recovery and co-founder of this event alongside with Brad. I'm going to be quick because I'll be talking a little bit more in the middle of the presentation. But first, I want to say thank you all so much for being here. Many of you who know me know that I like to say Happy Family Reunion Day on a day like today. And I'm grateful. Like, I was thinking if I'm nervous, I'll picture you in your underwear, but now I'm picturing the naked bicyclist that Brad was talking about. So if the nerves flare, I'll just try to picture that. But really, the one thing I just wanted to touch on, I want to thank Brad for having the vision 4 years ago to do an event like this. Quite frankly, he was describing this location and how big he wanted to do it, and I thought he might be relapsing, because like, how do we pull this off? But with his confidence, with God, and with all of you, here it is. We can do this, and it's a we thing. I also want to put a shout out for Fawn Montaigne Consulting, who helped us with a lot of the graphics and the publicity. And I also want to thank Ezra. I know he's probably going to slap me for this later, but without Ezra's help with the tech and all the setup, we could not do this event. So I just want to say a special thank you to him, and then to all of you for being here. So that's all I got for now. Thanks.
All right, thanks, guys. And I just reiterate, it was 4 years ago when the first summit was held that Brad and Melinda put on. It was in Montpelier at Capitol Plaza with about 50 people. So it certainly has grown, and we're glad to be here with you today. We're going to bring our first two speakers up right now. Monica Hutt, she is with the Governor's Chief Prevention Officer, and Lauren Resu from the Vermont Department of Health. Monica has worked in the field of human services for all of her professional career, and Lauren Resu leads a team of analysts at the Vermont Department of Health working with substance use data. She and her team work to provide the info needed to make decisions to benefit the lives of Vermonters. Won't you please welcome Monica and Lauren.
Definitely not as tall as everybody else. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here for the 4th Annual Substance Use Addiction Summit, and I'm going to just echo a theme that you started to hear already. When I was thinking about this day and this event, I got to thinking about how much it's grown over the last 4 years since the very first summit. And if you weren't there for the inaugural event, I can tell you the growth has been dramatic. The number of presenters kind of blew me away when I walked in this morning. The number of booths, the amount of information that's here to be shared, the number of people attending, it's all grown exponentially. And that growth is a testament to the vision of Brad and Melinda, for sure, but also a testament to this whole community, state and local government, providers, clinicians, people with lived experience, and of course our families. It's a testament to this community's desire to come together again and again, organically and with intention, to share stories, to share experiences, to share hopes for ourselves, for each other, and to share our hopes for this system of care. I can say without a doubt that this is one of the most joyful events I have the honor of attending, and I pretty much cry every time. I just will also say that. I just started, having never heard Brad's story all the way through before. That was not fair, but thank you for that. You know, knowing that this subject matter is hard, knowing that people are still struggling, knowing that we're still trying to get it right in terms of what and how and where we deliver services and supports, this whole day is and has always been suffused with joy and with hope. And that's incredibly powerful. I'm joined this morning by Dr. Lauren Rousseau, a public health analyst from the Vermont Department of Health, who's going to share a little bit of data with you to hopefully help you put the day in context. There is some good news in terms of our rates of overdose deaths. There's also a lot of information about the change in substances that we're starting to see. And there's also a little bit of level setting that we're going to do to talk to you about where the system is at right now. And all of that is really to better frame information that you're going to be getting throughout the day and later on about changes to come in our system of care, but also hopefully to make sure that you stay informed, that you stay at the top of your game when it comes to substance use disorder and addiction, because knowledge is power. And this event is about empowering each of you to do the work you're doing, whether that's professional or personal or a little bit of both. So now it is my honor to introduce Lauren Rousseau to you from the Department of Health.
Good morning, everyone. As Monica said, I'm an analyst, so I'm going to talk us through some data here. the numbers I'm going to show, where numbers and percentages are pretty dry, they're numbers. But we always really want to acknowledge that each one of these numbers represents a person, a community, a family. And so we never want to lose sight of that fact when we're sort of talking and thinking about the data and what it means for us, what it means for our future. One other sort of thing I just want to mention before, I'm going to, just because I have like 2 minutes, I'm only showing some data on deaths, and we really also acknowledge that death is like only a very small part of the picture when we look at data and look at the burden of substance use in Vermont. So I'm at a table later today. So if you need more data, if you want more data, have questions about data, have requests about data, come find me. We're going to have some PowerPoints up, lots more data there that hopefully better represents sort of the environment of substance use in Vermont. So jumping in, probably this general trend is not going to be too surprising to anybody in this room, but we did of course see a dramatic increase in overdose deaths that peaked in 2022. But for the past couple of years, we've seen a small decline. It was a 15% decline from 2023 to 2024. So that's good news for us. But of course, 225 deaths is still 225 deaths too many. So we have more work to do, and we're very cognizant of that fact at the health department and everywhere, of course. One other thing I like to point out with this data is that in 2024, the percent of deaths that were not related to an opioid increased. So that 19% in the orange color in 2024, that's an increase from 2023 and 2022. And it's something that we're really thinking about and thinking about what that means for Vermont. And to dive into that a little bit more, this slide has a lot of numbers, a lot of words. But these are the numbers of deaths related to each one of these substances since 2009. So you can really see that these deaths are really involve a lot of different substances in the past couple of years. The good news here, right, is that deaths related to fentanyl have really decreased from 2022, and we think that the decrease in deaths overall is really being driven by the decrease in fentanyl-related deaths. But of course, there's this dramatic increase in cocaine deaths that we're very concerned about. Xylazine has been on the scene, prescription opioids are still in there, alcohol, methamphetamines, and the drug supply is getting more complicated every day. So we're really concerned about this, really tracking it, and the community, I know, is also aware of this and thinking about what this means for all of us. This last slide is not really data, but oh, that's a little squished up there. Sorry about that. But it shows our system of care that we currently have. I think it's slightly out of date, but it gives you an overview of our system of care currently. I'm not going to go into any of it. I know it's a lot of words, a lot of small text, but just to give you a sense that we have different levels of care, and that care is really based on clinical necessity. We also always want to emphasize that while we have options like this available, and we're going to hear more about this today, that prevention is really our foundation. And it's something we really, really spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort thinking about how we can do prevention, how we can do it better. We really think of prevention as a service to all Vermonters. So it's a little bit harder to throw up on a slide like this. But a lot of our work is really based on prevention as well. So with that, that's all I have to say today. We're really excited about today and the rest of the speakers and meeting all of you. So thank you very much, and come find me if you have questions or just want to talk about data.
Our next speaker is with Savita Health, and I want to recognize them because they are a platinum sponsor. Tracy Thomason, she's the Director of Operations at Savita Health. Her background in urgent care and social work ensures that patient care remains at the forefront of decision making. Her focus is on creating sustainable systems that benefit our communities and advance Savita's mission. Won't you please welcome Tracy Thomason.
Good morning. It's nice to see so many familiar faces. I just want to thank again Brad and Melinda for putting this on, and Lauren and Monica and all the legislators that are here to be a part of this. It really says a lot about Vermont. I also want to shout out, I have a lot of team members here, from managers to clinicians to an MA and RN. I'm just so grateful that they came to support this event, so thank you, everybody. Again, yes, my name is Tracy Thomason, and I have been with Savita a year this week, actually, so that's pretty exciting. I started as a social worker. I say baby social worker. I was in case management when we thought we knew what addiction was and how to help it, and mental health, and I'm really honored to be here in the way that I've wanted to work in recovery as a mother of a son that struggles with substance use disorder. This is where my heart is, and I feel like my social worker and my operations got married when I got the honor of working for Savita. So what does Savita do? We are an MAT provider in 7 states with about 55 centers. I'm only responsible for the great state of Vermont and New Hampshire. We have 8 in New Hampshire, or in Vermont, and 1 satellite we just opened in Bellows Falls. And so we do MAT. We are a blueprint provider, and so those of you that don't know, we get our funding sources from all sorts of insurances in the blueprint, and we're just really happy to be able to do that and to grow so big in this state. Working with all of you, it has been a year, but it feels like it's been a lifetime. I'm just so excited to be able to work with all of the different sober livings and inpatients and community partners in all areas. I am a crier too, Brad. Thank you. So why do I like working at Savita? I'm going to tell you about my first day, and some of you have heard this, but I experience this very often. I was in our Bennington office with my CEO and some staff, and a patient came in, and she seen the Savita logo on my CEO's shirt, and she says, "What do you do here?" And he was hesitant to say that. And he eventually said he was a CEO, and she started crying, and she put her little arms around him, and she said what Savita's done for her. And she said the #1 thing Savita's done for her is treat her like a normal person. And that when she returned to use a couple months ago, and she'd been with us for years, she knew that if she came into Savita, they would wrap their arms around her. And I know a lot of you know about the stigma personally and through friends and family, and I've watched people for a decade treat my child like that. And to know that there are places like all of yours in Savita that don't, it means a lot. It's the #1 compliment we get for our clinics. And I'm just so grateful for that. That's why Savita matters to me. In the state of Vermont, I come from the West Coast and things are different here, but you guys really get it. Everyone in this room, you get it. And I watch that every day with the summit, with the overdose awareness and everything else that we do here, working with people like DCF and probation and parole and Jenna's Promise and Journey to Recovery and all the turning points. It's just such a unique community to be a part of. Just recently, I'm sure a lot of you were part of the research study that's being done from Pennsylvania. They're working on an app for us for emergency prevention in substance use, and they wanted to start in Vermont. And I just think that is amazing. That says a lot about what all of you are doing in here, and that's why I'm here. That's why, Melinda said, thank God. That's why God put me in Vermont, so I would get the honor to work with you guys and learn about this community and be a part of a change, he said, I'm a social worker. The change you want to see in this world, it starts with all of us. So I hope you guys, get what you came here for, meet somebody, talk to somebody, tell somebody, make some new friends, and just be brave. That's what I tell my son every day. Just be brave today. That's all you need to do. Thank you so much. Honestly, the honor to be the platinum sponsor, I can't even tell you. There's no place I'd rather be today. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to Savita. We have 2 speakers that we're going to bring up now, Jenny Samuelson and Nicholas Demmel. First, Jenny, Appointed by Governor Scott as Secretary of Human Services in 2022, she was a founding leader of the innovative Vermont Blueprint for Health during the development of key healthcare reforms. And Nicholas Demo leads an agency responsible for all individuals who are detained and sentenced and all aspects of community supervision in Vermont. He's an active member of the Correctional Leaders Association and serves as the chair of their Restrictive Housing Committee. Please welcome Jenny and Nicholas.
Also, like Monica, not as tall as everyone else. Good morning, and thank you for inviting me here, and thank you for Brad and Melinda for really bringing everyone together, and for others for setting the tone already this morning. As we join you today, it's my privilege to serve as the Agency of Human Services, where integrated substance use and mental health treatment are one of our top priorities. You know, when I was listening to Brad, I reflected, because I was first going to say that my personal passion started with the work that I did with the Blueprint, but it really started much earlier as I watched friends and family struggle with substance use, and several lose that journey through suicide. And so that's why it's important for me that these two things are together. So I'm always heartened to see so many people in Vermont committed to prevention, treatment, and recovery for substance use. And my professional passion for substance use treatment came through my work with the Blueprint for Health, where I helped to lead the launch of the hub and spoke model. This approach integrates substance use treatment into primary care. It expands access to intensive outpatient treatment for opioid use disorder, and connects the two systems so that we can provide seamless care. It has reduced stigma, and it's become a cornerstone of our substance use treatment system here in Vermont. Before we launched Hub and Spoke, I spent a summer speaking with primary care providers and other treatment providers about the gaps in our system. I heard their stories and the stories of their clients. Later, we implemented a learning collaborative across the state. The stories that we heard were about strength and resilience, and how recovery, and they touched me deeply, and have really become an integral part of the fabric of who I am. These experiences and successes gave me the confidence that when we truly examine a problem from all angles, especially from the perspective of those who are really struggling and from the providers who serve them, and that we collaborate across systems, that we can make real progress and a real difference. And that's a testament to the work that you all do today. Just this week, I had the honor of visiting the recovery and treatment system providers in Bennington, alongside Representatives Becca Balint from Vermont and Paul Tonka of New York, both of whom serve on the Federal Substance Use and Mental Health Caucus. It was a clear reminder of how far we've come in Vermont, as Representative Tonka spoke about how difficult it is in many places to recruit providers who see substance use as a health issue and are willing to offer treatment. In Vermont, our footprint on primary care, OBGYN offices, emergency departments, and EMS is a national model, one we can be proud of. Combined with our work to embed mental health supports in these same systems, it's easy to forget how far we've come, but it truly demonstrates meaningful progress over the last decade. And that's not all. Vermont understands the importance of recovery and supports. Organizations like Turning Point and other peer-led groups are doing amazing work across the state. We've also recognized the critical need for stable housing and are working to build out recovery housing at all 4 levels, from peer-run to professionally supported. It was an honor to see those things in Bennington this week. The themes of this summit, though, about building partnership across public safety, healthcare, and community systems, is what made Vermont's progress possible. And it's what we need to keep doing to move forward. It reflects the belief that recovery is not only possible, but that it's a reality for many Vermonters. That said, with all that we've done, we know that we have much further to go. We know that healing takes time, And that's why last year we began working with our residential treatment providers into Vermont to provide the full continuum of care, from withdrawal management to early recovery. So not just focusing on one element. And to do that under one proverbial roof within one organization. This model reduces disruption and transitions and gives people more time to heal, and we believe that this should be the standard of care for our residential treatment providers. We've seen it work in other neighboring states, and we've heard from advocates and recovery partners that that's what we need here in Vermont. Because of that, we're also working to make sure that treatment providers in surrounding states that already provide that full continuum are enrolled in our Vermont Medicaid program so that Vermonters have more treatment options close to home. And while we acknowledge the aspects of the sale, trade, and use of illicit substances impacts public safety, we must also continue to humanize addiction. Addiction is not a moral failing, it's a health condition, and yet sometimes intervention is necessary. There are individuals whose behaviors, as Brad talked about, may endanger themselves or others and require them to become a part of our correctional or judicial system. But it's our responsibility to ensure a strong pathway from custody to care. It's not humane to hold people, it is not inhumane to hold people accountable for their behaviors. It is inhumane not to offer them a real chance at recovery. Again, Vermont is leading here, and Commissioner Demmel will speak more to this, but we're among the first states to provide medication-assisted treatment for opioid use disorder in corrections. We've embedded peer supports in several of our correctional facilities and probation and parole officers, and hope to scale those statewide. These are major steps, but gaps remain. Last year, we proposed offering residential level treatment within corrections. This year, we're focusing on studying the operational work that's needed to make that happen and to bring that vision to life, and we're hopeful that we can implement it soon. Additionally, Vermont received a federal waiver to allow Medicaid services and transitional supports within corrections prior to release. While some of this already is happening for select populations, this waiver allows us to offer a more systematic and consistent approach. This is essential to ensuring continuity of care and advanced planning for those who are re-entering into our communities. We're also seeing promise in coupling pretrial supervision with treatment supports for those struggling with addiction and involved in repeat offenses. These interventions can catch us things earlier and redirect individuals towards treatment and recovery before more harm is done. We're also encouraged by the growing number of embedded recovery and mental health providers who are working alongside of law enforcement. This is not only best practice, it's a smart public policy. These partnerships with police, prosecutors, healthcare providers, and people in recovery allow for earlier intervention, better outcomes, and healthier and safer communities. I'm hopeful, but I could also talk about the many advancements in treatment and recovery, but I'll stick to a few other highlights that we're administering through the Agency of Human Services, where we're prioritizing a co-occurring system of care where we integrate mental health and substance use services. Within our designated agencies, the CCBHC model is spreading across the state. This model integrates care, it sets a high standard for essential services, and ensures a continuum from prevention to crisis. At the same time, we're working with our hub providers to embed comprehensive mental health and physical health services into SUD treatment, advancing both healthcare and treatment for determinants of health. This, along with expansion of our crisis system, including driving for co-occurring care in mobile crisis teams, among our crisis beds and our mental health urgent care, helps set a standard for integrating mental health and substance use treatment and broader access across Vermont. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention housing. We know that stable housing is a foundation for recovery. Vermont is continuing to expand access to recovery housing, and our understanding of what's needed in this space continues to grow. There are 4 distinct levels of recovery housing, ranging from peer-run to professional support. Last year, after extensive conversations with recovery and other partners, AHS and the administration proposed investments in level 3 and 4 recovery housing. While these efforts faced early hurdles due to misunderstandings that we were indeed proposing expansion of recovery housing and not treatment, and about what constitutes recovery housing. I believe that with better clarity, stronger partnerships, and continued collaboration, we'll be better positioned to move that work forward this year. That includes looking at how better to support families in recovery housing. So let me close with this. We know what works. Now we need to sustain it, strengthen it, and scale it. We also need to stay open to innovation because, as Lauren showed us, the landscape is changing, and we absolutely cannot do it alone or in silos. Through the advocacy and ideas shared in this room and through our ongoing work together, we will move the system forward. Again, thank you for your time, your courage, your innovation, and your collaboration, and most of all, thank you for the critical work that you do every day.
Good morning. Nice to see so many friends out across the room. My name is Nick Demmel. I'm the Commissioner of Corrections for the state of Vermont, and really honored to be with you today at the annual Substance Use Addiction Summit. This is one of the most exciting parts of the job, is getting to come and connect with folks, partners that we work with across the state to really do impactful work. And I'm excited to be celebrating with you today. Special thanks to Brad and Melinda for coordinating this event and bringing us all together. I think it's maybe unique to Vermont that we could gather everybody who is working in the recovery space in one room. Maybe that speaks to the size of our state, but I think importantly it speaks to the values of our state. In Vermont, our community members are our family members, our friends, our colleagues, and when one of us is struggling, we all step in to help our neighbors. The crisis of addiction is no different. The issues, when they touch one of us, touch all of us. And so, as evidenced by those here in this room today, we come together as a community to work through this. In this room, we have state agencies, local nonprofits, service providers, and many others. And the through lines of these organizations is that commitment to integrating services so that we can meet people where they are and help them when they're in need. Within the Department of Corrections, we see this commitment clearly through our Turning Point partnerships and with the other recovery center partnerships across the state. To illustrate this, I want to tell you about a young man named Mike. He's currently incarcerated at the Southern State Correctional Facility in Springfield. Mike is, in many ways, very fortunate. He has a loving family, a college degree, a good heart. He's a good person. But like 1,000 other Vermonters who are incarcerated today, he struggles with an opioid use disorder. And his addiction led him to the criminal justice system and now into my custody. Mike represents so many people in our justice system. Given the right resources like treatment, counseling, support, these individuals, our neighbors, have the potential to heal, the potential to return to our communities stronger, healthier than when they entered our system. And that's exactly what Mike is working on, but he's not doing it alone. Thanks to Turning Point, we're able to help community members like Mike. He has a peer recovery coach named Johnny, and Johnny meets him inside our correctional facilities. And when Mike walks out of our facility, Johnny will be there at the prison door to help him enter our community again. Because here in Vermont, we don't let incarceration be the end of the story. We see this as a moment to intervene, to offer a hand, to help people connect with the supports that they need. Our partnership with Turning Point is a simple model, but it provides an outsized impact on Vermont's communities. And this seemingly common sense model required a real paradigm shift for corrections. We had to open our doors and let the community come inside. Just a few years ago, the idea of allowing formerly incarcerated people to come back into a prison in the state of Vermont was unconscionable.
Thank you.
And yet, today, this is happening in all 6 of our facilities. It also is happening in our probation and parole offices. These men and women are providing some of the most valuable support possible to the incarcerated people of Vermont, and they will be better off for it, and so will our communities. This hasn't been possible without a ton of support. Key partnerships like our Governor Phil Scott, our legislature, Senator Peter Welch, Tracy Hawk, and all of the recovery partners of Vermont who are working every day to help expand access to peer recovery coaches inside our state prisons. In 2 weeks, I'll be stepping away. But this work will continue because our department is committed to the folks who are suffering from addiction and want them to return to our communities safer, healthier, happier, and engaged in our community. We remain committed to sustaining Vermont's integrated approach to recovery, knowing it's critical to help people pull out of this addiction crisis. So together we can overcome these challenges as neighbors, and Corrections is honored to be part of that solution, arm in arm with you today and every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you both. Our next speaker is the Commissioner of Public Safety, Jen Morrison. Jen was appointed in July of 2022. She oversees 7 divisions, including State Police, Emergency Management, Fire, the Forensic Lab, Crime Information Center, Radio Technology Shop, Administration, and Finance. Stop me if I've forgotten anything.
Animal welfare.
Animal welfare. She's also the Governor's Homeland Security Advisor and Criminal Justice Policy Advisor. And by the way, this is only her career since 2022. She also police officer, police chief in 2 communities. I could go on, but we don't have enough time. We're on a time frame here. She's also a friend. Vermont is very lucky to have her and honored that she is able to be with us here today. Jen Morrison.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not much of a crier, but a couple of times it was a little dicey there sitting in the front row, so I guess there's still time. I'm happy to be here with so many esteemed colleagues and partners. Thank you all for the important and difficult work that you do every day. I'm heartened to see the wide variety of disciplines represented here. My assistant Heather and I had an opportunity to walk around while all the booths were being set up, and it was inspiring to see the breadth and depth of resources that are here today. My remarks are intended to highlight that we are all in this work together and that we need each other. I want to take a few minutes to talk about the intersection of public safety and public health. It is not a spot I ever anticipated the police being in, but here we are. Today's police stand squarely at the busy, often intense intersection of public health and public safety. And like any good police officer, they are trying to direct traffic. Now, directing traffic is far more than waving at motorists. It is about keeping order, triaging competing priorities, and protecting the most vulnerable, pedestrians, bicyclists, etc. The traffic cop has to manage many things, but mostly they manage behaviors. 99% of the motorists and pedestrians who approach the intersection will follow the law and traffic will flow smoothly. But there's always that one guy, and that guy means guys and girls, who cannot comport their behavior to the rule of law. And that is when the intersection becomes dangerous, chaotic, and people frequently get hurt. Having worked more than 20 years of July 3rds and marathons in the city of Burlington, I can attest to how quickly the mundane task of directing traffic can turn into a dangerous and sometimes deadly situation. Now, most police officers don't mind dealing with conducting traffic or controlling traffic at intersections because they are trained to do it and they have the right equipment. But they don't have the training and the equipment to stand at the intersection of public health and safety. Yet we keep putting police on that post, in that intersection. Why? Probably because we, the society, call the police when behaviors threaten our safety. Now, to be clear, it is a tiny percentage of people who are on drugs or suffering from a mental health disorder that cause problems that require the police to respond. Just like at the traffic intersection, it only takes a couple of folks to create a disproportionate amount of harm in our communities. Some of these familiar faces accrue dozens of charges. They are picked up and released over and over again without new supports or accountability mechanisms. These folks cause real harm to communities, victims, and their own families. And I would argue it's not healthy for the offender to be caught up in this cycle. And yet frequently we make excuses for them, and we fail to hold them accountable because of an underlying condition. In doing so, we allow the fabric of society to be torn over and over, and the consequences are real. Unwelcoming downtowns, scary public spaces, atrophying businesses, the list could go on. In some places, it appears that we have forgotten how to balance the rights of individuals with the common good. When we choose to overlook harmful or illegal behaviors, we're not helping anyone. We are perpetuating a terrible cycle. So the police will always be able to interrupt that cycle by addressing illegal behaviors. But an arrest or citation to court will not stop the behaviors from recurring. Absent holistic action immediately following law enforcement intervention, the police are nothing but a brief pause for station identification, and then the show continues. We need support from all of our partners to prevent reoccurrences, address root causes, and hold individuals accountable. Working together, we can bring balance back to a pendulum that has swung too far. We can do all of this work cloaked in compassion and love for our fellow human beings. And we can create healthier, happier people and communities at the same time. This is my sincere belief. I began my career in policing in 1990. Aside from making me old, this has given me the opportunity to witness the incredible changes that have happened in the past 35 years. In my career, I've seen the growth of street outreach teams, embedded social workers, peer recovery coaches, and far stronger relationships between law enforcement and service providers of all types. We are meeting people where they are and connecting them to resources in real time. We have absolutely come a long way. And the co-responder model is a proven framework, and it's one we need to continue to invest in. The police will do a far better job at the intersection of public health and safety when they have expert partners at their side. At the state level, we've been working across agencies and departments to help communities thrive at the intersection of public health and safety. One exciting project that we have spearheaded across Vermont is the EMS, Emergency Medical Services, buprenorphine project. Started in Bennington, this project has developed into one of the first in the nation statewide protocols. It started in the space of responding to overdoses, but has now expanded to address opioid withdrawal anywhere that EMS encounters it. This is an exciting project that is live in 9 communities, with 3 more in training to roll out soon. Collaborations like this are essential to move towards healthier communities. So I'll close by saying that today represents an excellent opportunity to build or rekindle and feed important relationships and strengthen the many partnerships that are already thriving across Vermont. I look forward to talking to many of you, and I thank you for allowing me to share a few thoughts, and I thank you for including me in this exciting day.
Thank you, Jen. Our next speaker is with the Vermont Court Sequential Intercept Model. His name is Scott Akes. Scott brings a wealth of experience to his role as the state's first mental health and the court's project director. His expertise and leadership are invaluable as the work to address individuals with serious mental illness who are involved with the courts continues. Won't you please welcome Scott Akes.
Thanks. I'm also one of the short people. So I'm a social worker, and yet I work for the judiciary. And I can say a little bit about that. The judiciary made a decision a few years ago that the issues that we're experiencing throughout the state, throughout our communities, with mental health and substance use issues, it impacts everyone. It impacts all organizations, it impacts all communities, it impacts all of us as individuals. And so what can the judiciary do about that? And it sort of divides into two parts. There are things that the judiciary can do specifically itself, right? How are we going to handle these cases when they come in? When human beings come in who are sick, who have issues, who have challenges, what are we going to do about that, given the fact that they've also, in some way, ended up in court? So there are those questions. And then there are also questions about the judiciary as an important partner in the community. How can we be great partners with all of the other organizations that are trying to work on this, and all the individuals throughout our communities that are trying to work on this and reduce the suffering that is going on as a result of these issues? And so one of the things that the judiciary decided to do is to call together communities one at a time throughout the state of Vermont, regionally speaking, so 5 different regions in the state of Vermont, and call together people throughout the community who are stakeholders in working on some of these issues. So hospitals, law enforcement, corrections, mental health providers, and substance use treatment providers, and many other organizations, people from chambers of commerce and things of that nature, to try to figure out how can we work on these issues together. And so that's really the courts sort of in their role of convener, listening to how the courts can handle things better, but also just trying to help people all sit at the same table, like we're doing today. And so they use a specific model for that. It's called the sequential intercept model. We call it SIM, S-I-M, not the cartoon movie that came out. It's a little different than that. And roughly speaking, what that model does is it just divides the judicial system into 6 elements, depending on, with each element representing a particular level of penetration into the justice system. So level 1, for example, sequential intercept number 1 is at the very first point of law enforcement contact. So the police have been called, somebody's on the street, and we've got some sort of an issue. That's intercept 1. Intercept 2 would be when you start to have court hearings. The person arrives for arraignment. We're trying to decide what to do with that now. And then you can imagine, I'm not going to spell them all out for you, at level 4, we're talking about corrections and how can the judicial system, how can the court system be helpful in that arena. So, and I should just say, like, they did 1 through 5 initially, and then they realized that actually the court system has a real investment in trying to make sure people don't even get to them, right? So it's about deflection out of the system, if at all possible. So that was dubbed Intercept 0, which is before there's any law enforcement or court involvement at all. So now you're talking about things like private, like therapists and 211 calls and things of that nature. So the courts brought together people in these regional meetings and came up, the regional meetings came up with some fairly concrete work projects, many of which are actually happening and going ahead for both helping the courts understand how to handle things better, but also people just coming together and sitting around the same table who are from the same communities, working perhaps even outside the court system. So that's the court in its role as convener. So I guess I would just say, in closing, that it's really inspiring to have this many people in the same room doing something that's sort of along those same lines. We're all in this together. There are people representing different organizations, and there's many people, individuals in recovery here who are contributing what they have to this vital process. And so thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Scott. So those of you that have been here before know that we do something kind of a seventh inning stretch. And we're not going to ask you to sing Sweet Caroline. No offense to the Red Sox fans out there. I'm a Red Sox fan too. But excuse me, I guess she's not. But Melinda has a surprise for you. So once again, please welcome Melinda White.
Thank you. Also, I'm not necessarily the one with the surprise. We've got a couple of things lined up right now where we want to be able to celebrate recovery and also honor those lost. The first thing I want to do is just introduce myself a little bit more formally. So I am a person in long-term recovery, and I was reflecting back on my journey. I remember late 90s getting my first DUI. I was 4. I hear that when Jen was like the age, it's like, oh man, yeah, it was late 90s for me. But getting my first DUI and thinking like, oh, I guess I get to like get away with this better. And then that was at the age of 18. At the age of 21, I got a second one. And it was never on my radar that I had an addiction or a drinking problem because that wasn't really present in my family. We didn't have family members that got arrested and went to treatment, so it's pretty foreign. But as time progressed on, anybody who knows the way that addiction works, it is a progressive disease. So even if there were times that I wasn't drinking daily, but whenever I picked back up, it would progress further. And I also, after that second DUI, realized that my family members, and I'm trying not to look at them because I also don't want to get sweaty eyes up here, but they mentioned periodically, you know, I think you might have a drinking problem. And after that second DUI, it's like, well, shoot, pills don't smell. So I traded seats in the Titanic, right? I tried different substances. And some years passed, and I got a third DUI, roadside .38. And I was also at a point in my life where I was completely feeling hopeless, and I had a failed suicide attempt, and the next day was in Brattleboro Retreat. I was there for approximately 3 months between the inpatient and the outpatient, went home, relapsed, called my poor mom, completely under the influence. I said, I gotta go back to Brattleboro, and then I disappeared for 3 days, missing persons report, but made it back somehow, and did another 6 months of their inpatient, 3 months of their inpatient, outpatient, and then I still didn't get it. And my mom had brought me to our home church, and there was a place called the Adult and Teen Challenge that I saw, and of course I wasn't interested, I just went so, you know, because poor mom, I put her through enough. So I wasn't interested, but then later on, once I was hitting a big enough bottom, I was like, you know what, let's give this a try. So the Adult and Teen Challenge program is residential, minimum of 1 year, and I went to Germantown, Philadelphia, which is very different. I was like in those, when you see those kids' pictures of which animal doesn't belong, I was definitely not really like from the hood in Germantown, but it was such a great experience. I learned, first and foremost, discipline. I didn't need to understand why you tuck your bed so they can bounce a quarter or you get work hours. I just needed to do it. I needed to keep my clothes organized. I needed to do chores. I needed to be focused. They put me on speaking restriction. That was interesting. And on the third day, I talked and I got another 3 days. So, you know, some people thought, some people thought, you know, well, that kind of sounds abusive. It's not nearly as abusive as what I was doing to myself before that. So I completed 13 and a half months. Germantown came back. But again, you know, those of us in recovery, at some point in our life, we're usually kind of terminally unique, that it's like, okay, I'll follow most of the suggestions, but like, I don't need to do this piece. Well, I eventually ended up picking up again. And I also, because of the guilt and shame associated, didn't want to come out and say, I'm shooting dope again, I don't know what to do. So, and my employer at the time didn't know that I had a history of addiction. So I was trying to get off. Opioids was my drug of choice by that point, and on a lunch break I was like, hey, I might as well drink and deal with the withdrawal so I can get through the day, because I made that same promise I made every morning. No matter what, I'm not gonna use. No matter what, I'm not gonna use. So during lunch break, got some booze to deal with the withdrawal. My judgment changed. Ended up at the drug house and realized at 1:30, I don't think I should go back to work like this because they might know I have an issue. So I headed home, nodded off, drove under a semi, totaled my car. That was on December 5th, 2011. So I wish I could say that was my sobriety date, but it was December 28, 2011 when I actually went to treatment. And when I went to treatment, one thing that I've learned, and I've worked in, anybody who knows, I've worked in clinical settings, in MAT settings, so I'm a fan of all pathways because everybody's different. And the rest of the story is I misused and sold drugs so much that for me to get on a maintenance program, I already knew it wasn't the right fit. And I expressed that to my family. And when I was in Maple Leaf, I was almost convinced by the doctor, this 1 pill a day is better than your 92 pills a day. And I called my brother-in-law, so George, I'm gonna call you out first. I called my brother-in-law because he's retired law enforcement, and I said, don't let me go back on my promise. And he reminded me, this is what you want, this is what your goal was, do what is best for you, and I didn't go on any maintenance programs. I also, with my family, I'm gonna ask I wasn't planning on this, but I'm just gonna do it. So Mom, can you stand up? Because this is a person that saved my life, the power of a praying mom. My brother-in-law in the back, as I mentioned. And I was having a hard time finding my sister. I thought she might run because she probably is gonna kill me for this later, but my sister's here from Florida too for this event. So I've gotten different awards over time, and they're not mine. It's these people who deserve them. And I often say too that putting down the substances is actually the easy part. Staying away is what's hard. And that's where in my life today, my sponsor historically has helped with this event. She's not here today, but I'm gonna ask my husband to stand up because living with somebody in recovery, he cries more than me. So living and traveling this journey with a person in recovery is amazing, and he found his recovery in jail. So while we don't want to see people be arrested, be incarcerated, and we'd love to just heal our way out of that, sometimes for those who end up there, that's where they meet God, and that's where they find their recovery. So what we're gonna do right now, I just wanna do quick overviews. There's a few people that I wanna mention. So my job, my real job, I'm a recovery coach supervisor in the emergency department for Turning Point in Franklin County Station at Northwestern Medical Center Emergency Department. And I know I talk fast, but I try to be clear. Because I'm gonna cram it in so you don't have to sit and get bored too much with all the talking. So I meet different people. I have the blessing and the honor to meet people at the bedside when they have maybe just died for a couple minutes and been Narcan back to life, or they're going through withdrawal from alcohol and maybe survived some seizures. So one person that I just want to touch base on is an individual, an individual that I had seen in the emergency department, gave him some suggestions, recommendations. He went off to do those. He eventually didn't continue that path, relapsed, and when I saw him the second time, he was full of lesions and I almost didn't recognize him. He was struggling with not only use with opioids, but xylazine was in the picture. And I remember him and his mom crying at the bedside. And he had 100% willingness to do whatever's recommended. And he ended up following through with recommendations for treatment and for recovery living after. And he is here to show his beautiful lesion-free face. Josh, please raise your hand. His mom, CJ, isn't here this year, but she'll be here soon. Usually I make mom stand up too, but she dodged it this year. Another person I had met, and this was actually previous to my role before we had RCEDs, but I was working for the NMC clinic and got a call because there was somebody in the PCU that was there for substance use and was admitted, almost died from blood infection. And we didn't have any programs yet, but I tend to just do and ask forgiveness. And now we have those programs, so I can do it without breaking the rules. But I went to the hospital and met with this person. And he almost died a few times in his addiction. And what I love are those full circle moments that not only does the person recover, and they're employed in building relationships, building their own family, having babies, but they work in the field and now they're my referring community partners and likewise. So Sam, where are you? Sam Snyder, please stand up. Sam works at the Restorative Justice Center. And also, I don't know if his mom, Martha, is here, but again, the power of a praying mom. You'll notice I'm mentioning a lot of moms attached to people who have survived their addiction. Those are the rock stars. So another person, his family reached out to me and my husband. We went to school with one of the family members, and we met with that family for probably close to a year because they all wanted him to get in recovery. But they wanted him to get in recovery a good year before he was really interested. So we built a strong relationship with the family. We did meet with the individual. He did go to treatment, and again was one of those, he's intelligent. It's almost like the smarter we are, the longer it takes us to really get recovery, right? Because we don't have to do all the stuff that other people do. So he ended up doing some more research to see if using and relapsing got any better out there, and learned that it didn't because he was in the hospital bed and had died briefly and brought back by Narcan. He overdosed, and his mom had texted me in cap locks, I think it was like a Sunday night. Oh my God, he's overdosed. So Jody and I ran to the hospital. I can't look at him because I don't want to get sweaty eyes. So we ran to the hospital, and I was like, are you ready to do this thing, like to commit this time, like for real? And he was ready. So he did residential, got himself balanced, and then he ended up going to the Vermont Adult and Teen Challenge program. And he has completed that program. He's now staff there, and I refer people to him. He refers them to me, and he is a walking, talking miracle. So Pete, stand up. And you can stay standing. You can stay standing. So another person that I saw in the emergency department, and Vermont's a small town, right? We're small. So an individual that was familiar to me, didn't really know personally, but when I got to the hospital bed, this person looked like, I remember thinking, man, I hope he doesn't die over the weekend. I didn't think he was gonna live over the next 48 hours. Gave some suggestions, time had passed, didn't see from him, didn't hear back from him. And you know, you just pray that people are okay. And then about probably a year-ish, I don't know if Robert Giles is here. If you are, I'm gonna ask you to stand up now, but a coworker that I work in the community with, and he may not be, he encountered this individual as well. And he said, you know, I think you would do really well in the Adult and Teen Challenge program. And the person went, and this was all without my knowledge, because nobody has to report to me. So I didn't know if this guy was dead or where he was. But about a year ago, we were at the banquet, the annual banquet for Teen Challenge, and there was this beautiful, strong gentleman, like pouring our water, so polite, so kind. And I was like, I know this guy, but I'm a Teen Challenge stalker. When they sell the boards, everybody texts me, hey, your people are out so I can donate and give love. So I was like, well, maybe I saw him at one of the tables. And then when the guys got up and they started singing, I was bawling because I recognized him. He was that one who was just about dead, and I didn't know if he lived. And not only did he live, but he was in that program. Randy, stand up. The other thing I want to do is Steve and Georgie, Pete's parents. I would love for you to stand up because I got to tell you the power of a praying mom and dad. Yeah, I'm going to make your eyes water now. Steve and Georgie, why don't you raise? Check, 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 check. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna come down here with my two friends. The other thing we like to do at this event is highlight again the memorial wall. So if you haven't had a chance to write names of individuals that we've lost to this disease, please feel free at any time throughout the whole day to put their name up on the memorial wall. It's painful, it's hard, and also we want to honor their memory until the day that we're gone. And I'm going to ask for just a moment of silence. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was
was blind, but now I see. Okay, Randy, take it away. Now we're going to celebrate for those who are still with us. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Blind, but now I see. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace. 'Twas grace that brought my heart to fear, grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns, unending love, amazing grace.
Woo! Let's have a hand for everybody in recovery. And we're going to ask for anybody in recovery, if you're comfortable, to raise your hand or to come up front so people can see that we do recover. Thank you. You can be seated. So I'm going to call Brad back up. We have one other little thing when we see like surprise that we're going to do. This person's probably going to beat us after, but well, again, this is our way for people in recovery. We ask forgiveness versus permission. So we last year gave out a first award at this event and decided we wanted to do an annual award. And this is our second award that we're going to give at this event. I'm going to give Brad the mic.
Thank you to Melinda for all that, and for the Kleenex companies that are also profiting from this event. So I think Melinda said it. She's probably going to be mad because she's so humble. But I want to bring Monica Hutt up here, please. And it's so unfair because she cries during Amazing Grace, and then we bring her up. During the legislative session, and for several years, Monica has met with us, and we talk about summit goals and all of that. And this past winter, I met her in the State House and went over redundantly the summit goals with her, and she goes, Brad, I think you're going to be surprised. I think you should go to the governor's press conference today. And I did go to the press conference, and Jen, you spoke, and Secretary Samuelson spoke, and others, and really we're talking about all the things that we've been talking about today. And when I was communicating to agencies and stuff, Monica was integral in that. She gets it, and she communicates it back in a real quiet, humble way, like I said. So we have Substance Use 4th Annual Addiction Summit, Monica Casarta-Hutt, Chief Prevention Officer, in appreciation of your hard work and support. The work you do matters and makes a difference. Gratefully, Melinda White and Brad Furlan.
You don't have to.
All right. Thank you. I learned so much from you guys. I don't have anything else to say.
First thing Melinda told me when we were setting up, she said there's a bottled water under here in case you need it, and also plenty of tissues. I have a box up here if anybody needs them. Brad, I think you need to get Kleenex on board here. They should be a major sponsor, and we should give them a booth out there. Our next speakers, if you've probably met Don Tatro here a number of times, and certainly you know her, yes? And Lila Bennett, our next speakers, will be joining us here in just a moment. Now, Greg and Don Tatro, they began Jenna's Promise back in 2019. In fact, want to remind everyone that this weekend there is an anniversary celebration at Jenna's Promise in Johnson, and that's this Saturday, so hope that you can be there. Together, Greg and Don created a community of sober housing, treatment, and workforce development, creating a program that should produce revenue to help support itself. And they've now partnered with Lila to open a certified recovery residence called Ben's House. And Lila is a certified recovery and life coach. She's also the executive director of a trauma-informed recovery center in Vermont. And it's her honor to work with people who are ready to take a deep dive into themselves and take big steps forward in love, relationships, parenting, and healing in general. Won't you please welcome Don Tatro and Lila Bennett.
First, I want to thank Melinda and Brad for what an amazing event. And I was here from the beginning, and it has just brought so many people together. For all our community partners for showing up. For Monica and Jenny to show up for this, and Nick. These are huge, huge people showing up for our listening and wanting change. And just want to make sure we acknowledge that change happens when they show up. Come together for all the Jennas, for every person who has struggled, for every family member who has faced the pain of addiction or has lost someone that they love. It's for the team who works tirelessly, all of us, every day to bring hope to those who need it. Jenna was the light in our lives. She fought so hard to overcome her addiction. For years, I fought right along beside her. It became my life, my purpose. I did everything I could to help her, but in the end, I couldn't save her. Losing Jenna was the most devastating blow I have ever experienced. There is no greater loss than losing a child. And for a while, I was completely shattered. I did not think I could go on. But in the midst of that pain, something began to stir in me. And I realized that Jenna's story didn't have to be the end. I knew we could take this experience and make a better place for people. One where people struggling with substance use could find the support they needed before it was too late. I saw the gaps in the systems, gaps that were all too familiar because I had lived them with Jenna. I knew we could make a difference. The vision started small with me and my family. We didn't have all the answers, but we had determination to try. We knew people needed more than just a few weeks in treatment. They needed housing. They needed jobs. They needed a community that would wrap around them and support them as they rebuilt their lives. And so we started Jenna's Promise. I knew we could give people a real chance, a place to live, a job to go to every day, and a community that cared about them. And now we have Ben's House, which is very similar to the model. It's been 6 years since we lost Jenna, and I believe that with all this work we have done together, we have made a significant difference in the way people look at treatment and substance abuse. It just shows by looking at all the people here. We are a community. We are boots on the ground. We are making a difference. And I know that when Nick was up here talking, I'm going to miss you, Nick, how correction plays such an important role. And we work so closely with them, and I can tell you that 100% of the women that I have spoke to that have come through the program have said that's what saved their lives, and to break the cycle. And I'm going to use one example because I love this example, and she just called me the other day. We had this woman that came from corrections, and she waited 5 months. She waited 5 months in corrections just to come to us. And then she finally got to us, and she did the program. And I said, what do you want to do, Kim? She goes, I want to be a phlebotomist. I'm like, okay. So the team worked with Higher Ability and Fletcher Allen and Restorative because she had to get some things off her record. And she took classes. We drove her down to Fletcher Allen, and she became a phlebotomist. And they hired her. And they gave her a $3,000 sign-on bonus, $35 an hour. She was only making minimum wage for working for us. And health insurance. And she called me the other day, and she's still doing amazing. But it was hard. I mean, it was amazing to see what she came from. And now she's off the system, she's giving back. And so many people are like that. And the stories could go on and on, but we can't do it alone. And we have to work with you, Nick, and just saying, hey, what do we need? We need people to come out with IDs, and you fix it. Or Monica saying, you know, I'm saying to Monica, we have a problem, and she'll we have to admit there's a problem, and then we can fix it. And or Jenny saying, you know, let's figure this out. And so grateful for all you guys, and everybody works together, and everybody makes a difference. We can't do it alone. So thank you.
I'm a little taller than Dawn. Hi, everybody. I'm Lila Bennett. I'm the director of Journey to Recovery in Newport and Ben's House, also in Newport, Derby. And first of all, I just want to say, listening to these stories, so I'm a crier, and I'm going to try really hard. I saw that. Okay, so stories like Jenna losing her life and working with Dawn, it's just front and center every day in my life. And I have 3 kids, and they're alive. And I feel like I do this work for them because they are able, darn it. Because they get to see this work in real time. They get to see recovery. They get to see addiction. We came from a really chaotic and alcoholic situation, and now we are broken through that, and we work every day, and my kids get to see this. So that's why I'm here first. And that's what this is all about, is human beings having their lives every day, like having that chance to see and grow and find purpose. And it gets really complicated and sometimes really frustrating and a little bit discouraging sometimes. And you guys have all been sitting for a really long time, and this has been really emotional for all of us, I think. And so I thought, for a second, could you all just raise your hand if you are someone, you know someone, or you lost someone from addiction? And look around. Okay, our hands down. Okay, now, can you stand up if your whole heart is being a part of the recovery community in Vermont, be it working, living, supporting, or helping? Can you stand up? You can be a parent. Yeah, like look around at this. It's all of us. It's amazing. Okay, you can sit down now. I think it is so powerful how we are all here, and this room is just about full. And we're all here doing the same thing. We're all here doing this like wholeheartedly trying to make a system better. And it just shows like that's the essence of this work, and that's the essence of why I do this work and why I believe in it. Because we all are part of this. It's a living and breathing ecosystem of care. And we are all part of wanting to make it better, because at the end of the day, we're talking about human beings and human lives, and that's us, and that's all of us. And so here we are at this Coming Together conference, and my message to you is that I do believe that our work, as complex as it is, cannot ever deviate away from the very heart of that mission, remembering that we're working for that same thing of breathing life and hope and dignity back into those who are struggling or have struggled. Journey to Recovery Community Center is a peer support recovery center. And in the 5 years that I have been honored and lucky enough to work there, we have been looking right at the holes of our system and looking at what we can do to make them better. And it's okay that there's holes, because nothing is perfect, but we can't look around them, and we can't blame each other for them, and we can't like covet our little slice. And it's really easy to get super protective because, as we all saw, we all care so much. But we have to find the ways to keep coming together stronger, more united, more collaborative, maybe just more clever. Not that we're not clever, because we are. But we have to be that unified, strong front working as one to truly meet our people with what they need when they need it. And so sometimes that gets uncomfortable. 3 years ago at Journey to Recovery, we began working in schools because we saw that, we kind of weren't looking at our youth, and our youth are struggling too. We have generational addiction. We have families, full families who are in this cycle. And so in 2022, 5% of the students that we saw self-referred. They came to us just on their own. And 95% were referred from a faculty or because they got caught with something. And this past year, 95% of the students that we saw self-referred. They sought us. And only 5 were infractions, 5%. And that is really powerful. And I do want to say that there's staff over here that could all stand up, please. Journey to Recovery staff. Not everybody got to be here today because we are running a summer camp for teens right now, and our youth coaches are there with teens. One of whom who actually overdosed on methadone a couple weeks ago. So these are kids who are like in need, looking for this connection, and it's working. So not all our staff is here today because we are doing that work, and our center is open too. We have coaches at the center. These people work every day on the front line and never forgetting that what we're doing is talking about each person, each life, and what they need. So that leads me to Ben's house and getting to work with Dawn. I only have 5 minutes, and I know I'm probably there, so I won't get into it too much. But we ended up collaborating. We're very like-minded. We like to think big and do things and help people and go around systems and try and fill the holes and make it better. Sometimes it's a little stressful, but this past November, we opened Ben's house, and Ben is not with us today. And the house is named Ben's House because Scott and Linda Winnick lost their son and came to me at Journey to Recovery and said, how can we help? We want to do something, we need to do something, or we don't have our son anymore. And so they are big donors to help with Ben's house alongside Don and Greg, and that's how it's really gotten off the ground. And so we don't forget Ben. Ben is in my heart every day. It's my commitment to doing the best work that I can do with the men who are in the house, who I have the honor of knowing. 4 of them are here. You'll get to meet them in a minute. We have 8 amazing, intelligent, wise men who have come together to live there so far. They are working so hard on themselves and on the culture of the house as a whole. There have been no relapses since we began. Because we have a program that is both structured and self-directed. This is a workforce development program, and it ties purpose to existence, and also there's trauma support. Everyone works with a mental health counselor, and if they're not working, they're at Journey to Recovery, and they are engaging in groups, and they are there all day long. So it's a very, very supported wraparound program, and it's working. The intersection of peer support and workforce development and community and connections is where this magic is truly happening. We have men working full-time. We have men reuniting with their families and navigating relationships and parenthood. We have men diving into the talents that they do possess for work, that they were never really given, had the opportunity before to actualize. And we have men making peace with their pasts and spreading gratitude and connection to each other and all of us. And, these guys are doing the work, the deep, hard, amazing work. It's like radical honesty and pain and truth and love and asking for help. And you guys, they're also going into workplaces that maybe aren't all the way recovery friendly yet and spreading those seeds of truth, and it's rippling. It's all those things are important. And one more thing before they stand up. We have two that came from corrections. One of them, on paper, doesn't look that great. You're awesome. But, it's hard in systems because we have big systems, and it's hard to be able to figure out who goes where, why, how. And Journey to Recovery has been going into our correctional facility in Newport twice a week. And so we have groups and we get to know people. And so this one particular person, the very first time that we went, he sat right next to me. And he looked me square in the eyes, and he shook my hand, and he shared in group. And it was incredibly clear to me that he was ready and serious and needed a chance. And we don't take no for an answer very well. Dawn made a few calls. And you know what? Sometimes that's what it takes, because this is human beings. And so right now, right over here, we have 4 guys. I'd like you to stand up, guys. They are amazing human beings. I am a better person because I know them. I am a better person because I get to spend time with them every day. You have to stand up for just one more second. They maybe wouldn't be here today, but for the grace of God or whatever spiritual force you may or may not believe in, I believe in something that's powerful, that brings people where they're supposed to be. They're here, and they're changing the world, and they're making a difference, and they're setting an example, and they're teaching their children to also do that. And they're teaching my children to do that. So, I thank you. I'm going to try not to cry. Lastly, as we leave here and we go back to our offices and our work and our fears about funding and our frustrations with the pieces of our imperfect puzzle that we're all working on, let's just remember that this is us. It is one life at a time. It is one day at a time. It is one moment at a time. That we go to our lawmakers. If we go to Washington, D.C., as we speak about recovery, we have to speak as a unified front for all the pieces of this system. Prevention, intervention, peer support, co-occurring, sober living with workforce development. That's very important. And we have to beat these drums as loud and proud as we can to help our nation hear about what we are doing that is working and what we need to do better. And we ask together to fund it all, because there is nothing more valuable in history as funding recovery today. And one life in recovery turns into generations of healing. One life in addiction perpetuates generations of addiction. We are the power, and we are the voice. And I'm so thankful to get to work with you all. So thank you.
I want to thank both Don and Lila for taking the numbers and the data out of all of this and putting real faces on it. Great job. Thank you. A couple more speakers. I want to remind you our memorial wall over here, and of course we've got the breakout rooms that'll be happening right after our presentations this morning, and there's also lunch available, and we're here till 4 o'clock this afternoon, so I hope you can all stay. Our next speaker is with Valley Vista. His name is Kevin Hamill. Kevin is the Vice President of Medical and Clinical Services and Valley Vista Addiction Treatment Center. He has more than 2 decades of experience in nursing, healthcare, management, and patient advocacy. He's passionate about mentoring emerging healthcare professionals and fostering cross-functional collaboration to drive lasting impact. Please welcome Kevin Hamill.
Thank you, everybody. So, of course, I had a speech prepared, but I wanted to start it off a little bit different, because as I'm sitting here listening to the stories, I realize my path with Vermont has been quite long. So most people do know me. I've been around for over 5 years now working in Vermont, but I'm from New York. But my path with addiction in Vermont has been a lot longer. So I got a call 15 years ago about a child in the NICU at UVM, and him and his sister were both being brought into foster care. And it was a relative of mine who lived in New York, who's a nurse practitioner, who said, I can't raise these kids, and you're certified. And I told him that you would take them. And they're gonna call you. And we adopted them 6 months later. Wow. And we've since, thank you. And we've since adopted, I have 3 kids, all from addiction. I have maintained connections with their families because I feel that's extremely important. I think that the parents made an amazing decision to say that at that time, they couldn't give them the life that they needed, and we were blessed to be able to help out with that. So it's important for my husband and I to both make sure that they were able to maintain that connection. And then 5 years ago, I got a call from Rick DiStefano, who said, we're going back with Valley Vista after a sale. I need you for 6 weeks to help me open this program. And I said, Rick, I can do anything for 6 weeks. And it's been over 5 years now. And as I was sitting there listening to everybody, I'm saying to myself, this is amazing, and the reason why I've continued to do it is because of the people that are here, and the relationships that I have formed, and the amazing work that's happening, that I continue to believe in it, and I continue to drive almost 3 hours to Vermont to come to work, because I truly feel it's important, and my family feels it's important that we're able to work in this field. What I really wanted to kind of emphasize, though, is our ability to work together. And, you know, when I was talking with Melinda about being able to speak here, I said, you know, what I want to emphasize is this conference is called Coming Together, and I want to make sure that as a state and as the people in this room that we are truly coming together more than just on this day, and that we need to come together all the time, and we need to work together to make sure that we are able to provide the services that we need. It is very easy, especially now with so much change happening, that we need to blame, right? We're humans. That's my certification and my background is in human experience and patient and family experience. And it's natural to be able to blame. But I think that if we took that blame and we, instead of pointing fingers, we reach out hands and we say, how can we do this together as opposed to being against each other? Because I don't think that we mean it to be against each other. I truly feel that we all know what is needed in these areas throughout the state, and that we have the knowledge, and we have the power, and we have the voice to be able to make change. And I am truly just advocating for everybody in this room, all of the recovery centers, all the people that I've worked with, our state representatives, is we need to be brought together. We need to be able to figure this out as a team because we have a lot of knowledge. And we know what's happening on the streets, and we know what's happening in our centers. We are hearing it from our patients. We are hearing it from their families. We are taking phone calls at all hours of the night, on holidays. We're there because we care. And I think that if we can come together more and create policy of how the system should look and how the system should provide care, we can make a true impact on the people that need us throughout this state. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Our final speaker this afternoon is with Lund. Her name is Sharon Lifshutz. Sharon is the Director of Development and Communications at Lund. She leads the agency's fundraising strategy and external communications, a passionate ambassador for Lund's mission. She oversees individual foundation and corporate giving, while also ensuring the organization's story is told with clarity, impact, and heart. Won't you please welcome Sharon Lifshutz.
You heard that right, the last speaker. We made it. Oh my gosh, this has been such an amazing, tremendous, meaningful morning, and there's still so much to do. I really am incredibly excited. My name is Sharon Lifshutz. I'm the Director of Development and Communications at Lund. Lund is a statewide nonprofit agency here in Vermont, and what we do is we strengthen families so that children can thrive. We do that through being an adoption agency, so I love hearing about adoption. I'm adopted as well. We also are a parent-child center, and of course, clinical treatment. We've actually been in Vermont for 135 years. Happy birthday, Lund. Thank you. And there's one population we have worked with that entire time since 1890, and that's pregnant people. And we're at a substance use conference, and I have to tell you something. The trends are not looking great when we talk about pregnant people and substance use. And at Lund, we are not problem admirers, we are problem solvers. So when we heard that 100% of perinatal deaths between 2021 and 2023 were caused by substance use, let me say that again, 100% of perinatal deaths in a 2-year time period were because of overdose or death from infection. We knew we needed to do something. And in these moments, we go to our clients. They have lived experience. They are the ones that have answers. And at Lund, we build transformative relationships with our clients. And you're gonna get to hear this afternoon at 2:30, if you come to our breakout group, what happens when you ask someone a question, you listen, and you do something about it. So I had the opportunity, I became a mom while I was working at Lund. I have 2 boys. Parenting is the hardest job when you have all of the supports, right? And so when we think about clients that we're serving that are navigating, trying to break generational cycles of poverty, addiction, and abuse, and their parents, we know that we need to think about our supports differently. So I got to know one of our clients, Ashley, who had transitioned from our residential treatment program. This is a one-of-a-kind program in the state of Vermont, and one of few nationally, where pregnant and parenting people can work on their treatment for mental health and substance use disorders while actively parenting their children. So right now, I think we have 22, I'm looking at the team, 22 families living in Burlington. It's really amazing what our program's able to do. And so I got to know Ashley actually through our alumni group. And we built a relationship. I'd just become a mom. I was very emotional. I was like crying every day at work. It was a lot. And we built a relationship, and she came into my office one day very upset. And I said, Ashley, what is going on? And she said, I lost another friend to an overdose. And we sat together and we cried and we grieved, and I knew something else was going on. So I invited her to say more. I said, is there something else going on? And she says, Sharon, I heard this quote and I cannot get this quote out of my mind. Recover loudly so that others don't die quietly. I'm seeing some head nods, right? Recover, yes, recover loudly. Sing Amazing Grace, right? Recover loudly so that others don't die quietly. And I said, okay, well, what do you want to do? And she said, I want to tell my story of being a mom in recovery. Because if my story can impact one person, if it can save one life, it would have been worth it. That was a year ago. What we're going to be doing today at 2:30 is like the premiere. Well, that was a good sound. I've been listening to like a lot of like blockbuster hits. The premiere of Recovering Loudly, the stories of moms in recovery. So we ended up working with 8 moms over a period of quite a few months on a therapeutic storytelling project that has culminated in 6 of them filming their stories. So this afternoon, we want to invite you to come watch this compilation of all of their videos, listening to key themes around connection and community. We want to be in community with you, reflect and respond, and ultimately hear from you. We made a promise to Ashley and to the moms who participated to get this out there, but we don't know what we don't know. We would love to hear from you about who needs to hear these messages, who should we invite to recover loudly with us. And so I hope to see you at 2:30. Thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to meeting you over the course of the day. Let's recover loudly together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I'm going to wrap things up. We're going to ask Brad and Melinda to come up here. Once again, thank you all for being here today. Hope to see you at the 5th. Reminder, the breakout rooms, there is food available here, and if you'd like to sign the memorial wall, and thank you to Brad and Melinda for having me again. Thank you all.
Thank you, Charlie. We love you. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, I'm going to be quick because I know everybody wants to get up, stretch, move. There's food for sale throughout the day, so please feel free to help yourselves. Go and get some food. We're going to be opening up the booth room shortly. Also, I want to go over the breakout rooms. Usually I'll run to a microphone in the other room, but I would have to do that every half hour this afternoon, and I don't think I'm going to be on point. So I want to go over that right now. So at 1 o'clock, booth room number 1 is Dr. Suzanne White. Dr. White, where are you? I know I saw you. There she is, back there. My Jedi Master. So Dr. White is going to be sharing about brains versus drugs, how to protect developing brains. That is at 1 o'clock. At 1:30 in breakout room number 2 is the recovery room, and that is the panel of people in recovery sharing their experience, strength, and hope. So that's a panel of people sharing openly. Some of them I had stand up earlier, so that is at 1:30. At 2 o'clock, my brother-in-law, George, raise your hand. So George Rodriguez with Viking 6 Tactical Safety, he's doing a safety class, and it's a family safety non-lethal. He's done a few other ones that are a little bit more intense. Family safety non-lethal, comprehensive safety class. That focuses on essential skills for situational awareness and personal defense. That's 2 o'clock right here in breakout room number 3. Breakout room number 4, you just heard from her. So Sharon with Lund at 2:30 is going to be doing the 4th breakout room with the Recovering Loudly Moms in Recovery panel. So that 4 is going to be back in the first room over here. When Dr. White exits, Sharon will enter. And then breakout room number 5, after George is done, we've got our Jackie Kelly with the Medical Reserve Corp doing a Stop the Bleed class, which will go beautifully with what George shares because he refers to the Stop the Bleed quite often, and that'll be in this one here. So again, that's at 3 o'clock. So, and there are agendas with that schedule, but I want to make sure everybody knows, so you can go to those breakout rooms. You don't have to stay the whole time. You can filter in and out, but they're great educational, free opportunities to learn more about addiction recovery. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda. And I just want to once again thank our sponsors on both sides of me here and our tremendous, amazing speakers. Thank you so much for the messaging today. Charlie mentioned I climb Mount Elmore every full moon for the last 5 or 6 years. The only drawback, there's no naked bicyclists, but I still climb and it's rewarding. Yeah. Yeah. I want to end with this, that it's an old Boy Scout song, and I won't sing because I don't want people to go out and take drugs and drink, but it's, we're all together again, we're here, we're here. We're all together again, we're here. We don't know when we'll be together again. We're all together again, we're here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.